I can't move on. Really long story. My world is upside down right now. My life feels fake right now. And I just want to know how to go back to living my life. So this whole scenario goes back to Thanksgiving in my house. Thanksgiving is one of the few times a year I can just relax and have a drink on that occasion. I consumed a moderate amount of alcohol, while my wife had indulged to the point of intoxication. As we neared the conclusion of our Thanksgiving meal, and I sat myself in the kitchen, attending to the task of washing the dishes. Suddenly, my wife stumbled into the room, visibly distressed and in tears. Concerned, I approached her and inquired about the cause of her emotional state. Her speech was so heavily impaired by her drunkenness that I could only discern the words, "I'm sorry." Responding with care. I guided her to our bedroom, ensuring she had a glass of water before gently laying her down to rest. A particular day marked the beginning of my growing curiosity regarding my wife's behavior. As December commenced, an unfortunate accident at work resulted in my early return home. To my surprise, an unfamiliar vehicle occupied my driveway, catching me off guard. It was a 2003 Dodge Durango, a sight I hadn't encountered since one of my friends had crashed his during a house party back in 2005. Upon entering through the front door, I discovered my wife seated on the couch, clutching a glass of wine. In a display of affection, she embraced me tightly. Intrigued by the presence of the unfamiliar car outside, I inquired about it, to which she claimed it belonged to a female friend. However, when I pressed for more details, she explained that this friend was currently in the shower, having accidentally spilled wine on herself. Deep down, though, from the kitchen, I couldn't shake off the intuition that she was being untruthful, as my gut instinct seemed to suggest otherwise. Persistently, I probed further, seeking a different response, yet my wife resorted to reiterating the same narrative. At that precise moment, an idea materialized in my mind. I calmly took a seat and revealed, "I already know the truth. That's why I came home early." These years of honing my poker face during game nights with my friends now proved invaluable, as I maintained a composed demeanor while confronting the situation at hand. Her expression shifted to one of sheer terror as she uttered a bewildered "No. What?" Undeterred, consisted that I was already aware of the truth, and that it was only fair for her to confess it to me directly. In that vulnerable moment, her composure shattered. I realized that this approach might not have succeeded had she not been under the influence of alcohol. She began to apologize profusely, acknowledging that she hadn't been true to herself and that she needed to confront her own actions. Confronting her own inner demons with honesty and transparency. As if scripted, the woman with whom my wife had been involved emerged from the bathroom. A moment of paralysis overcame her when our eyes met, but she swiftly composed herself, taking a seat beside my wife and gripping her hand tightly. It was in that instant that everything fell into place. I realized that despite my attempts to maintain a stoic facade, my poker face had faltered. Like my wife, acknowledging the gravity of the situation, expressed her remorse, stating that she regretted the circumstances under which I had discovered the truth. She admitted that she could no longer continue living a facade and wasting her life in this manner. With a heavy heart, she repeated the word duck multiple times, signifying the end of our charade. I was overcome by an overpowering mix of shock, disrespect, and sadness, and tears began to well up uncontrollably within me. Despite my efforts to hold back, a few drops escaped. Determined not to give in to full-blown sobbing, I mustered the strength to demand the unfamiliar woman leave my house immediately. Initially, she hesitated, unwilling to comply with my request. While I am not typically an intimidating or aggressive individual, my emotions reached a boiling point, causing me to hurl my coffee table across the living room, narrowly missing my dining table. As she gazed at me with a mixture of fear and apprehension, I managed to maintain an eerily composed demeanor as I reiterated my demand for her to leave. Despite her attempts to assert that she had no intention of going anywhere, my wife intervened and firmly guided her out of the house. However, to my surprise, she returned shortly after, her tone shifting to one of remorse and affection as she profusely apologized, insisting that she still held deep feelings of love and friendship towards me. But by this juncture, the anguish from the unfortunate incident of falling off a ladder onto the unforgiving tile floor, coupled with the strain of moving a heavy stone coffee table, had wreaked havoc on my back. Overwhelmed by the throbbing pain, I collapsed onto the ottoman, seeking solace. Concerned for my well-being, my wife approached me with the intention of offering comfort, but my reaction was far from expected. I've dirty fresh. I lashed out in a fit of anger when she made contact, causing her to retreat to the bedroom, likely hurt by my outburst. Up to contend with my physical discomfort and emotional turmoil, I found myself too exhausted to move from the ottoman. Sleep eventually overcame me, and I drifted off right there, finding little respite from my troubles. As dispatched sent, the remainder of December unfolded in a miserable fashion, plagued by the lingering consequences of my injuries and the strain on my relationship. I experienced a significant back injury that required medical attention. The doctor prescribed me potent painkillers and provided me with a cane for support. Unfortunately, the painkillers had a side effect of drowsiness, leaving me feeling constantly tired and unable to work due to the pain in my back. During this time, I found myself emotionally overwhelmed by the end of my marriage and the intense back pain I was enduring. And to cope with these difficulties, I spent much of the month watching the television series Stargate at G1, finding solace in its storytelling. However, my appetite suffered, and I only managed to eat a few crackers sporadically. Consequently, I unintentionally lost nearly 13 pounds within a span of 2 weeks. In December, my wife spent the majority of the month at her girlfriend's house, although she did come over for Christmas. During her visit, upon noticing my disheveled appearance and tired eyes, she became emotional. Alongside her girlfriend, they sat me down and had an honest conversation. They expressed that my wife was ready to move on from our romantic relationship, but assured me that she still cherished our bond and considered me her best friend. She requested that I embrace her new relationship and continue to be a part of her life. However, in that moment, something within me shifted, and I discovered newfound strength after weeks of emotional turmoil. I mustered the courage to express that I was done with her. The pain she had inflicted upon me had shattered my spirit, and I refused to remain a passive observer, offering her congratulations. With a broken back and a shattered heart, she left me alone to grapple with the aftermath. Although her girlfriend attempted to engage in conversation, I couldn't help but label her as a homewrecker in my anguish. She became visibly upset by my response, and in turn, I firmly expressed that she was not welcome in my home. As my wife attempted to interject, I interrupted her and insisted that the person who had caused the destruction of our relationship needed to leave before any further discussion could take place. The individual whom I referred to as the homewrecker ultimately departed, allowing us the opportunity to have a conversation. Lecturing our discussion, I made it clear that divorce was imminent and conveyed my stance that she would be entitled to very little from me. It's important to note that before our relationship began, I had already inherited my house and both of my cars were gifted to me by my uncle. Observing a sense of disappointment on her face, I made it clear that our in-person conversation would be our final one. Moving forward, all communication would exclusively occur through my attorney. She begged to keep in touch, but I told her the truth on how I feel. I told that I thought about killing myself at least 10 times a day. I told her that she meant more to me than anything else in the world, but she betrayed me. I told her talking to her made me physically sick, and I felt literal pain. I realized she comprehended the situation, and that's where I've been all this time. The thoughts of her consume my mind constantly now. This experience, I refrained from consuming alcohol throughout this period, primarily due to the risks it poses when combined with my painkillers. Speaking of the painkillers, I anticipate getting rid of them soon. These medications are dreadful, and I yearn to return to work and engage in activities other than sleeping and feeling nauseous. This experience has been somewhat therapeutic for me in a way. Simply allowing the words to flow has provided some relief. Has anyone else gone through something similar? Can anyone offer advice on how to stop dwelling on thoughts of a past partner? I just want to express that it's incredibly wrong to cheat on your spouse and expect them to be forgiving and supportive when they discover your betrayal. It's important to be fair and respectful in a partnership. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. And if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story.